Bitcoin demand has been dropping dramatically since the beginning of the year, but since early February, demand has been rising aggressively. At the same time, we can see that the gap between Solana's incoming capital flow and outgoing capital flow remains wide. Since this gap opened, Solana's price has done nothing but go up. And remember, the gap is still open. How will Solana's price be affected if the incoming capital flow continues to outpace the outgoing flow? And now that Bitcoin demand is growing again, what could happen to its price? Now on screen, you're looking at Bitcoin's retail demand. This data tracks transactions of up to $10,000, which are linked to retail investors. What we're analyzing here is the percentage change in these retail purchases over the last 30 days. This creates an oscillator similar to the RSI or MACD, for example, with a 0 line, a 15 line, and a minus 15 line. Of course, it can fluctuate beyond these levels, but the 0 level acts as a pivot point, indicating no percentage change in retail buying activity. Right now, Bitcoin's retail investor demand saw a sharp decline at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. However, we can already see a recovery in demand, which has been growing since early February. Now pay attention to this. Following the blockchain analysis from the last 2 days, we highlighted how large institutions prefer low retail interest before making a move. And remember, what we're looking at here is demand, meaning actual purchases. Look at historical trends to understand this concept better. What happens when demand drops aggressively? It's crucial that retail interest disappears. Just like we saw back in 2021 when Bitcoin fell sharply, retail buying interest also declined. And that's when large institutions saw an opportunity to accumulate quietly before pushing the price higher. Obviously, this is not the holy grail, far from it, but it does help us understand the behavior of retail investors and therefore what major institutions might be aiming for in a given market context. Take a look at this phase in Bitcoin's price action. It was incredibly positive. Throughout the entire uptrend, there was a sharp decline in retail investor demand. And look at how they make it happen. If you focus on this specific point in Bitcoin's price, you'll see a slight drop. Just a little one. And yet, that small dip is enough to make retail investors panic. They think, hey, we've been going up nicely, but this drop scares me. I think we're going to zero. Retail demand for Bitcoin vanishes, and when it disappears aggressively during strong momentum, that's when we see major institutions step in, absorb liquidity, and push the price higher. Now, if we smooth out this drop and view it as a single move, which is a useful exercise sometimes, we can clearly see that retail demand fell sharply during this consolidation phase, also known as an accumulation phase, which of course is driven by major institutions. Once again, in a context where retail demand fades, institutions step in, absorb liquidity, and drive the price higher. Right now, we're in a consolidation phase, but notice something interesting. When Bitcoin hit its all-time high, retail investors lost confidence. They believed it was a bad idea to stay invested at those price levels. That's why we see retail demand dropping aggressively here. They no longer trust the asset. What we're witnessing is a phase of retail disinterest, which smart money may have been taking advantage of to build positions during this consolidation. This could lead us to think that we can have a positive outlook on the crypto ecosystem. And as I was saying, retail demand is now making a comeback. Remember, retail investors in general tend to enter the market late and poorly positioned. But with this indicator, a percentage-based comparison of the last 30 days, we don't see real-time demand shifts. Instead, we're observing percentage variations. Still, if you pay attention to this delayed shift in retail investor behavior, it has helped Bitcoin's price continue rising. Once again, we're late, but the price keeps going up, and we can see this in different market contexts. So, the real question now is, will Bitcoin's price continue to rise? We're going to analyze this in detail, cross-checking the data with our advanced technical analysis chart. Let's dive in. But first,
welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity.
Now, let's talk about what we're seeing in Solana. Here, we're looking at the inbound and outbound capital across Solana's various bridges, all combined into a total sum. This allows us to see that, as of February 10th, 2025, Solana's inbound capital is significantly higher than its outbound. In other words, more money is flowing into crypto than out of it. We can visualize this in the chart spanning from January 2022 to the present. But take a look at what happened around December 2021. There was a divergence where capital inflows into crypto exceeded outflows. Then, from approximately December 2022 to June 2024, we entered a phase where either new money was flowing into Solana or the inflows and outflows were balanced. Now, let's focus on what happened during that phase. You're looking at Solana's daily time frame chart, and these marked lines represent that period when the inbound and outbound capital in Solana's bridges were equal. In other words, there wasn't a significant net inflow of capital into crypto, specifically in Solana's ecosystem. As you can see, this was a ranging phase with little interest. But once capital started flowing in, right after this line, look at what happened to Solana's price. It went crazy. What you're seeing here is that this explosive move in Solana was, among other factors, driven by a surplus of positive capital inflows over outflows. In other words, there was a positive divergence between what was coming in and what was going out. So what are we talking about now? We're talking about the fact that as of February 10th, 2025, that divergence is still in place. This doesn't mean that Solana is guaranteed to keep going up. Rather, it's an indicator suggesting that as long as this positive divergence persists, there's no reason to be bearish on Solana, or by extension, the broader crypto ecosystem. That's the key takeaway I want to share with you. But before we analyze Bitcoin and Solana, I have something to tell you. We might be witnessing a shift in the market. Something happened today, between Thursday night and Friday morning, that could be a significant event. A rumor has leaked and the market is taking it very seriously. GameStop may be investing in Bitcoin as part of its reserve fund. Now, you might think this news isn't a big deal, and taken in isolation, I might agree with you. But now, let's take a moment to think about MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy wasn't a company that originally focused on investing exclusively in Bitcoin, but at some point they thought, let's give it a try and see how it goes. And it's obvious how well things have gone for them. From a business standpoint, if we look at the traditional company itself, MicroStrategy's growth since getting into Bitcoin has sparked both envy and interest from other companies. That much is clear. Now we're seeing companies like GameStop, a company that, without a doubt, doesn't have the most promising future, saying, we've got one last shot. Let's see what happens if we get into Bitcoin. We don't know if this rumor is true. It could turn out to be false, just speculation. But this type of corporate behavior isn't an isolated case. It's a trend that's been growing over time. And that's a very positive sign because it means we're injecting significant corporate capital into Bitcoin demand. And that could have major implications. For example, we've seen companies like Gumi, a Japanese mobile gaming company, become one of the latest to buy Bitcoin, purchasing $6.6 million worth on February 10th. Then, on February 12th, Metaplanet announced that it had raised $26.1 million to buy more Bitcoin, bringing its total reserves to 1,762 Bitcoin. Now, the question is whether more companies will follow suit. If they do, it would be an incredibly positive development. And before we move on to Bitcoin and Solana, I want to introduce you to our private Telegram channel, which is completely free. In this channel, we host live streams daily. In fact, at the time of recording this video, we're also live streaming for the community. During these live sessions, we look for trading opportunities in the futures market. We focus on intraday trades, and within this community, members also share their operational ideas, what they're working on and what they're looking for in the markets at any given moment. It's honestly very interesting. This community is constantly learning and improving. So if you're an active trader and tired of trading alone, you can join our community. Signing up is very simple. The requirements are as follows. You need to be a user of BitUnix or BuyDFI. Have deposited cryptocurrencies into your BitUnix or BuyDFI accounts with a minimum value of $100, and use this account as your primary futures trading account. In other words, you need to be actively trading. Once you've met these requirements, simply fill out the form displayed on the screen. It consists of just 5 simple questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Don't miss this unique opportunity to become part of our exclusive Crypto Insight Premium community. Come join us, we're waiting for you. Now, let's talk about Bitcoin demand. Bitcoin demand has dropped dramatically throughout this entire consolidation phase. As you know, here at Crypto Insight, we've been emphasizing that there's no black swan event affecting the market. In the traditional sector, with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, we've been fed fear, whether it's DeepSeek or tariffs. But none of this, in itself, gives us a reason to be necessarily bearish. On the contrary, we believe large institutions are taking advantage of the current market sentiment, absorbing bearish positioning that has likely been driven by retail investors' fear. Right now, we're seeing retail demand starting to grow again after going through an entire phase of sharp and sudden decline. In previous videos, we've analyzed all the absorption hypotheses that Bitcoin might be experiencing. What we can say is that if the price doesn't break above $89,000, we might even consider the possibility of a small market trap. But as long as key structures aren't broken aggressively, our stance on Bitcoin remains positive. I initially drew a negative scenario just to show you that if crypto prices drop, it's not the end of the world. Institutions need time to operate, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly when that phase will end. It could already be over. There's a real possibility that Bitcoin could move higher sooner rather than later, but it's important to keep an eye on that $89,000 price level. Now, looking at Solana, we can see that its entire rally has been supported by a consistently strong inflow of capital, surpassing outflows across all Solana bridges. If demand is strong, it's natural for the price to rise. The indicator I'm showing you today confirms that this positive flow still exists. In other words, at this moment, there's nothing suggesting we should be bearish on Solana. The only situation that could change this outlook would be if inbound and outbound capital levels equalize while Solana experiences a major black swan event. In that case, and only then, could we consider a bearish scenario for Solana and the broader crypto market in the medium to long term. But right now, that's not the case. That's the key takeaway from this video. So in general terms, as medium to long-term investors, based on the information we have today, we should remain optimistic. There's absolutely nothing indicating we should be bearish. Well, listen to the fear-mongering from mainstream financial media or YouTube channels that cover news without understanding how the markets actually work. And don't pay attention to those other YouTube channels that try to analyze the markets but, unfortunately, have no idea what they're talking about. If you enjoyed this advanced technical analysis, let me know in the comments. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so YouTube alerts you when new content is published. Share this video with your friends and with other trading and crypto communities. Good luck, see you next time, and don't forget to subscribe.